Today on Vintage HLC Show and Tell, we're going to look at the spaghetti bowls made in the 1940s and 1950s. So earlier today, Mr. Lucas Young posted this photo on Facebook in the group All Things Homer Laughlin China. And he posted this bowl with the spring wreath decals. He put a ruler on top. It measures 14¼ inches in diameter. And he asked, what's some background information on this bowl? So I gave him a brief little answer. I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to discuss this piece. It's the spaghetti bowl. It's not a piece of kitchen craft. However, it's usually found with kitchen craft decorations. And in fact, if you were to look at some of the records at the plant, they're often listed with KK treatment numbers. Though in the strictest sense, they are not part of the kitchen craft line. In fact, they're marked with the generic Homer Laughlin back stamp. This one comes from 1949. But this floral pattern was used on kitchen craft. It was also used on Jewel Tea specialty pieces. Has gold trim. And then there's an undecorated blank. This one comes from 1955. So again, 14¼ inches in diameter spaghetti bowls, usually found with kitchen craft treatments from the 40s and the 1950s. I want to talk a little bit about the spray treatments that were used on these bowls. This is a copy of a page from Frederick Reed's journal. It's dated Monday, August 3rd, 1942. But this is not Frederick Reed's handwriting. Frederick Reed had terrible, sloppy handwriting. He died in November of 1942. So as you get closer to the end of his life in these journals, you see that other people are writing in them because he was in and out of Homer Laughlin. He was going to the Cleveland Clinic for treatment. He was out of town visiting friends and family. He was either in Florida, he was in New York. In fact, he died in New York and was buried there as well. But this page talks about our spaghetti bowls. It says, Mr. Thompson, presumably J.D. Thompson, says that the flower, and notice here it said tulip originally, and they crossed it off and put flower, says the flower pattern has been selected for the big spaghetti bowls. This is a sprayed design. And then below they have a sketch of this piece, and it says sprayed spaghetti bowl, pattern SP5, R152522, and off to the side this pattern selected for the spaghetti bowl. Well, I've never seen one of these outside the factory, and there's a little bit of an implication here that it might have went into production, especially when they give it the treatment number SP5. So here's the one that was in the morgue. And I took this picture when I was there this spring. I'll put the sketch beside it so you can see a comparison. A little bit rotated so it looks different from the sketch. We have this pink flower, green, blue, and yellow all sprayed on to give this effect. Very atypical for vintage Homer Laughlin wares. If I were to see this in a shop and walk by, I would just keep on walking, not thinking it was Homer Laughlin. But we do have the sample piece and we do have the documentation. So it is something to look for in case it did go into production. Also in the morgue were some other pieces. This is the blue version with the crisscross design. Again, a sprayed pattern. Instead of a sprayed edge, it has this red line on the edge. And then we have two tulip patterns, because back in the note, I thought it was interesting, they had tulip and they crossed it off for flower. Well, here are the tulip ones. This is the yellow tulip with a pink sprayed edge, and the pink tulip with blue and blue double lines. And by the way, this one is R152514 as a reference number. This one didn't have a reference number on the back of it. This one was R152513, and of course the yellow one is R152522. So something to be on the watch or look out for, these sprayed spaghetti bowls. I think that's going to do it for now. Next time we will continue looking at the Quaker Oats lines, Ravenna and Chelsea.